Yo! We're the Boros Twins.
I'm the world's sweetest man, Gentleman Jervis.
This is God's gift to wrestling, Michael Richard Blaze.
This is Chelsea Green.
And we love wrestling.
And I love wrestling.
And I love wrestling.
And I love wrestling.
Oh, we're going to see a Superflex Powerball!
Just coming up to the building, Colton Kelly. Colton, I am sorry to interrupt your cigarette, my friend.
If they weren't the MVPs of pandemic wrestling, then I honestly don't know who are.
Of course, we did want to give everybody a bit of a rundown on what you can expect here on Love Wrestling through 2021 and beyond.
This crowd is going bananas!
I'm Spencer Love, and this is Love Wrestling.
And I am not Spencer Love. I am Chris Parrish. Alongside to my side is the there it goes, the Sunday brunch mug. But that is Karl Karufel, the voice of Turnbuckle Talk and Turnbuckle Rewind. Karl, thank you so much for being a part of this. But before I get anything from you, got to make sure we plug a little bit of things called sponsors. I just want everyone to look at the ticker down below. And as I jot down the 1 minute and 45 for Zach, make sure you go to manscaped.com and get 20% off your order when you use the promo code Love Wrestling. You also get free shipping. And guess what? You get this comfortable t-shirt that I'm sporting on right now. You get a lot of other cool things like anti-shaving gel and the Lawnmower 4.0, I believe, and which is really cool. One of the best shavers I think I've ever used. And I made sure that I used it on my face first, which I was very happy with because I didn't use the anti-shaving cream first either. So that's a mistake. People don't do that. Don't do what I almost did. And then also make sure you go to RK Athletics 1, where you get to go one-on-one with Rich King, who might just have one of the best physiques in professional wrestling in the Alberta scene. If you want to make a change to your lifestyle, your nutritional information, or your workout habits, go check out Rich King at RK Athletics 1. And if by chance you are not in the vicinity of Rich and you can do it an online session, he does those as well. So make sure you go check that out. Karl, how are you?
I am doing fantastic. I do want to throw out there a few couple quick little things. First off, Pluggo loves wrestling. Pluggo, thank you so much for the love on the stream so far, as well as Roxy. Thank you so much. And Evan, I'm sure I can speak for Parrish when I say that our weekend is doing absolutely fantastic and that it is going amazingly so far. And how could it not when we are part of an amazing platform called Love Wrestling? And I'm going to add to the sponsorship there with Manscaped. Dude, there is no words that can describe how amazing the stuff from Manscaped is. There's two different packages, big packages that you can get. One of them includes
huge
nose trimmer, right? Huge. I'm telling you, they're huge. A nose trimmer in one package and then no nose trimmer in the other, but you get the Lawnmower 4.0, you get the crop preserver, you get the spray as well, the ball spray, the ball toner. Like, it's absolutely fantastic.
And boxers too.
Free gifts. You get boxers, you get the shed, which is a travel pack to carry it all in. The Lawnmower 4.0 has a travel lock on it itself. You hit the button 3 times and it won't turn on. It's fantastic. I love everything having to do with Manscaped. I've used it. I didn't use it on my face first. I kind of used it on my arm a little bit to see how it was gonna go, and it worked out fantastically. Dare Amazing, good to see you in there too. So there we go. I just kind of took over a sponsorship. Sorry about that.
Oh, it is all good. We gotta get it out because they take care of us, so we got to take care of them. That's kind of just how we roll here. I love wrestling. We take care of everyone. They're part of our family now. So I
We
mean,
will not
we went
manscape.
bald on this one. So, but yeah, no. If anybody's here wondering, hey, what in God's green earth are you guys here to talk about? We are two pro wrestlers here shooting the peripheral screwed up that word. We're here to shoot the shit, people. We're here to kind of just grill each other. We're here to kind of answer some questions, but we're here to have fun. And I think that's going to be the big fun thing about this. Dara, will Manscaped ever get a small package? No. I mean, I don't know. Actually, it would be really funny if they did the stuff for the kids and then called that the small package. That would be
right.
That would be great.
Yeah, I think it would be as well. Yeah. Oh crap.
I'm actually wondering if they'd ever do anything with the women and do Womenscaped.
That's a really cool idea too. I mean, I know a lot of women that do the waxing. So Manscaped might have a side business called Womanscape, and offer different stuff like that. Some shavers, some really nice shavers, or some wax or something.
I would love to know what the names of that stuff would be, because they got some pretty solid names already for some of their product. That now, if you were to go that on the female side, that'd be very fun.
I'm not saying them out loud, because I don't want them taking my ideas, but yeah.
So Karl, one of the things I think is really curious for me is always finding out how guys became pro wrestlers and kind of like the route they took. Maybe we can start there with each other, of like how you became one and I became one. So kind of like take us through maybe like how you decided to become a professional wrestler, and kind of the interesting stories you have about that.
It all started at the tender age of 3 years old, when my Oma, which is grandmother for those who don't understand a little bit of German, my Oma or grandma was a huge professional wrestling fan, like one of those little old ladies that would sit there and yell at the television when her favorite character was getting beat down. And I just loved the intensity that my grandmother had, that my Oma had. Now, she lived in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. I lived in Northern Ontario, Canada, so I didn't get to see her very much. So that was really one of the biggest memories that I had of her. Continued on with my love of professional wrestling, watching everything. It was absolutely amazing. And then at the age of 13, so 10 years later, she passed away on my birthday. So I made it a goal of mine to honor my Oma by becoming what she loved watching, and that was a professional wrestler. So yeah,
who's her favorite wrestler?
I honestly don't even know.
Who are your guys' favorite wrestlers to watch?
It was just, see, I was young, right? Like, I mean, when the last time that I got to see her and actually sit down and watch wrestling with her, I was probably 6 years old. So because we didn't get out to Winnipeg very often, and they didn't get to where we were very often either. So it was probably like, I think I was 6 or 7 years old the last time. And I just remember sitting there and just being so happy to be with my Oma watching wrestling, that like what was on, I didn't care. I was with my Oma, who was hyped up, super hyped up. I'll have to ask my dad if he remembers or knows, because I never even thought about that. I never even thought about who her favorite wrestler would have been.
I'm gonna assume it was Chris Parrish, but I could be wrong.
Were you even born then?
Man, she had a great eye for the future. I'm just gonna.
She could see the swimming.
But yeah, no, that's really cool.
Yeah,
I really think it's funny to always kind of go, because I don't think that we all kind of like talk about how we got into wrestling enough, whether you're a fan, but like as performers, we always have different stories. So it's really cool just to hearing about how that happened. So I think that's really cool that, you know, you did that for someone else, and like it's just really cool. How did you end up getting into, like, I'm assuming like training and stuff like that? Like how did all of that stuff fall into place for you?
So I met this guy, and at this point we do not say this person's name because there was lots of controversy surrounding this person. But this person kind of just through the universe came into my life, and you know, made some claims that he was a professional wrestler and that he had done some really great things, and you know, kind of even doctored documentation to show that he was a, you know, so kind of got into things that way. Quickly found out and learned that no, this person was not who they were claiming to be, but then got involved with a company called Superior Wrestling Alliance. And that's technically where I went and got my training done with a few guys down there. So, and I say down there like it was super far away. It was across the border, like 20-minute drive across the bridge, and I was there.
Is that company still around today?
It is not.
No. When do you know when it folded?
I don't. I might be able to find out.
Like at what point? Like that's so. Like just so I'm kind of curious. When did you? Like what time frame are we talking about when you're getting into all this?
20 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah,
and
20 years ago.
Okay. And you're no longer a performer, correct?
Correct.
What? So like, how long have you were you a performer for?
I was in the business for about 10, 11 years. Yeah, short. I mean, compared to lots of others, it was pretty short of a career, but I was very reckless. I was known as the extreme Canadian Karl Karufel. So just with that name, you can kind of tell what I was doing, and a lot of it was stuff that was detrimental to my health. To kind of give you a little bit of an answer to the last thing that I see, the last update that was done for that company was back in 2006.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, it's been that long then with the SWA. Yeah.
Nice.
Sorry, I got sidetracked.
Oh, no, that's okay. I mean, it's kind of like where we're at. We're just kind of, I don't know, like, again, like shooting stuff. If anybody in the chat just, you know, has any questions about, you know, whatever, like, we don't have to just grill each other about like our backstories and stuff like that. I just think it's a completely open forum of,
oh yeah,
hey, we're talking wrestling. We're allowing you guys to get to know us a little bit better, but we also kind of want to just have an open forum. So, we can even talk about, you know, the weekend of wrestling, because I know usually on Saturdays we'll do a weekend review sometimes or stuff like that. But I mean, basically, this is just, I'm not going to lie to people, this was just an idea that I just wanted to have a hangout with Karl. So I just asked Dave, like, do you want to just hang out and do a stream? And he's like, yeah. So I figured, hey, you know, like, why not take this opportunity to kind of help everyone kind of allow you guys to get to know us a little bit more and just, you know, have some fun. We don't necessarily need to make this an interview. We can just, you know, be here shooting the shit like we were saying. So that's really cool.
For those that are actually watching right now and those who are watching afterwards, I will share with you. I shared this with you earlier, Parrish. There we go.
The promo.
So that's an old promo photo that I fixed up just recently. So the photo itself didn't even have my name or anything on it. It was just kind of what you see there. That was it. Astrid, love you. How you doing?
Yeah.
So recently I kind of added in there the SWA logo and then the name and stuff like that for just my own purposes. So yeah. But that was an old promo pic that I had from my days of wrestling.
Survey says we're happy to see putting you over on here.
That's right.
All right. Yeah, no, that, oh my God, like I love seeing old photos. Like I don't have the access to some of my old photos, but maybe one of these days I'll throw them up. But no, I think that's like just really cool kind of to go back, because obviously like we met each other through the Love Wrestling brand. So like I don't think like our paths really ever crossed on a wrestling point, but
no.
What were some of the things like you were just completely blown away when you're getting into pro wrestling? And I kind of want to stick just towards the wrestling aspect, not so much the stuff that comes with it, we'll say, like leaving that, whether it's political or, like situational stuff aside, like, because let's face it, like the business end of pro wrestling is a completely different conversation in itself.
Yeah, you're completely right.
But like when you were training, were there any things that like just blew you away of like whether or not like how easy it was for you or harder it was, stuff like that? Because I know for me, like I thought I was going to suck at bumping and I thought I was going to run the ropes amazing. And I found out very quickly my footwork needed a lot of work. But then I bumped really well. And that's kind of something that, I kind of kept to the current day, that I just like bumping as in general. But like, do you have stuff like that?
I'm definitely the reverse of that. My bumping skills were absolutely atrocious. Dare Amazing, yes, that was an old IC championship. You are correct. I did see you put that comment in there. Yeah, the company knew that I had a replica, and they're like, we want a Canadian champion because it was a company from the United States. So we got together and kind of did something up, and they brought in the Canadian championship, and then they let me keep my replica championship after I allowed them to use it, I guess. So I still have the IC championship here. But yeah, I mean, for me, running the ropes was easy, super freaking easy. Bumping, not so much. And it wasn't that it hurt or that, anything like that. I couldn't get it. And I mean, they tried all the different little training techniques with me where, they kind of had somebody kind of, you get into like a squat position. They had somebody take out my legs.
Yeah.
They had the squat position with somebody on all fours where they just push you over. Like, I mean, all of those different little training techniques they did, but yeah, my bumping skills were terrible.
Did you ever, after your first day, did you have that like old school, like, oh my God, like my neck is like stiff as a board, kind of, and then like after the running the ropes, you got like 3 lines just right across your back and like right there. Like I will still get the marks when I still perform, because I don't think there's anybody that attacks turnbuckles the way I do.
Okay.
Anytime I take hard buckles all the time because I don't know why. I just do it. So like I will get almost like temporary bruises on my arms all the time. So I'll have them like by Saturday night, and then by Monday they're kind of like going back to normal color. But yeah,
I had the marks on my arm from the ropes itself, because I mean, how I was taught, right? Grab the rope, grab the top rope. So I was always, grabbing the top rope when going back into it. So your back is going into it, and then just right here is on the actual, so like it would be rubbing it all the time, and I would always get the marks that way. But yeah, like I actually grabbed the ropes when running them. I didn't who is it? Was it Ric Flair maybe does kind of just that little like side into it? Somebody. Old school guy does
Yeah,
that.
it's more of an old school approach too, because I think
Yeah.
I know some of the bigger guys, like I think Bundy did that. I know Andre did it. Like Hogan does that too.
Yeah, that's true.
Hogan really does that. Like it's such a different way because I think too, like you want to be more in control and like bounce back that way and then just turn in your motion. Whereas a lot of the guys will go, if you watch somebody like Cena and do the big high kick out, like it's just such a, I think it's a, I don't want to say it's a lazy way. I think it was just like a different way that people trained back then. But like it was just an easier way to correct footwork when you ran the ropes, I found.
Cena is so dramatic with it though. Like,
oh yeah, he's over the but I mean, like he's as over the top about that as, you know, like I think Hogan was over the top about like how obvious, you know, he was when he ran and hit the ropes. Like it was just a completely different way. But yeah, no, I do think that's more, you know, when you see like guys in the 80s do it. And then when you watch like, you know, the Bret Harts, the Owens, Steamboats, Macho Mans, they're not doing it that way.
No,
so
just
I think
a
it's
different way of training.
The evolution of the training.
Yeah. I guess one of the other things that that really surprised me when I started getting into it, because I wanted to do hardcore. That's what I wanted to do, right? And so there wasn't at that time, there wasn't a lot of hardcore wrestling that was happening in Upper Michigan. So I wanted to kind of do that and make sure that, you know, that kind of got out there. And they taught me, I don't want to give, you know, a whole shit ton away, but how to do it safely. And I was very surprised at how good you have to be with timing things to make it look fantastic. Right. So that was a really, really big thing for me. And I think that I got it down pretty good. Lots of people after shows would kind of stick around to make sure that I was okay, thinking that I was severely damaged, which, yes, I did get severely damaged quite a bit, but I still kind of knew how to take those chair shots and take, you know, different stop signs and things like that. So it was interesting.
I believe we got rated.
I think so.
I can't tell because we don't have the access to the actual. We have access to like go on Twitch. We just don't have the access to the actual Twitch thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, thank you very much for putting over for the stream. So happy to see you, Tommy Streamer, which is still one of the best names.
Oh yeah, it definitely is.
He's also extreme.
Yeah. Oh, delivery.
Oh, there it is.
Got my Timmys.
Timmy. Now, important question.
I love it.
Important question. What is the host of Turnbuckle Talks, Turnbuckle Rewards, go-to coffee order?
Generally 1 milk, 1 sugar. If it's from Tim Hortons, it's 1 milk, 1 sugar. If I'm drinking it at home, making a home brew, it's black.
So you're not a big sweet coffee guy then?
No, definitely not. I grew up in a European German type of household, so coffee was always strong.
Okay.
Yeah, and you just learned to deal with it and drink it and like it. And I kind of did. I love me a nice dark black cup of coffee now.
So you're definitely more of a dark roast opposed to, you know, like double kind of a thing.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
I am not a coffee guy. I don't know how you guys got into coffee. I just can't get into it.
You're an energy drink guy though, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Monster, if you ever want to, you know, get on board like Matt's game, I'd be okay with that.
Bang, any of them. Red Rain. Shit, I don't even care if it's Red Rain. Come on.
I mean, let's go with the big fish. Let's go with the Monster. They got like 900 flavors now. It's absolutely wild. Like,
and they even have coffee flavored.
Oh, I know. Like I went on, like I got onto them because I didn't like citrus flavored. Like I just didn't want to do a citrus flavored. And then now you
Okay.
look and there's like a plethora of citrus flavored stuff
Right.
now. So it's like, oh,
Rockstar's the same way.
yeah, it's just
Yeah.
catered. But yeah.
What about you though? I mean, we're talking, you know, kind of things, learning and training that surprised me. What about you? What surprised you?
I was surprised with how much you can get by with just being athletic, but then how much really you had to work despite being athletic. Like I just thought, like I was so blown away with, like I wasn't blown away with what came with it, like the pain and stuff like that. I kind of assumed that when you're training, like there was going to be stuff with it. It was just like when, like I played hockey, I played lacrosse, like there's obviously stuff that comes with it. It was more how much more thinking you have to do while you're doing things, like how much it's easy to mess something up because you overthought it. Just by like when you're standing on a top rope or jumping off the top rope, if you're standing still and you're thinking too much, you almost fake yourself out a lot.
Your legs start shaking and you start, oh yeah.
And you just don't want to move. It's kind of like, I don't know if you're ever at height, and that's kind of one of the things too. Like I'm not a big height guy. Clearly I'm short as well, so that has something to do with it. But oh man, I was wobbly. It took me a while to get comfortable up there. And even to this day, you won't see me really stay up on the top rope in a free, like I'll usually get up, and then as soon as I kind of, straighten out my body, then I go. I have balance, but I don't have control, I will say.
Sure. And
So-
that was part of my finisher when I was working with the Superior Wrestling Alliance or even Great Lakes All Pro Wrestling. I would do what was called the CC. So I would kind of give, because I mean, my all-time favorite wrestler, Shawn Michaels. So I learned how to do a super kick. So I would do a super kick to my opponent, not to use that as my finisher, but just to kind of get them down on the ground. Then I would get up onto the top rope and I would stand there, or I would perch and wait for them to kind of get up and turn around, where I would then go, who wants a little bit of CC, Canadian Club, and I would come down with a double axe handle onto the person. And that was how I finished out the matches, was with a CC, a Canadian Club. So yeah, I got very comfortable up on the ropes. It was perfectly fine and comfortable with the heights. I've been in ladder matches and done things with ladders and tables. And
how many ladder matches have you been in?
Numerous. I don't even know. See, I should have been smart like Jericho and started like writing down. Like never in my life did I ever think of doing something like that. I was just super happy to be included into this family of wrestlers, right? Like that's, I mean, it's totally a family. It's a brotherhood. It's a family in the world of professional wrestling. And I was just elated to have been, kind of brought into that, especially given from the beginning, the guy that I kind of started training with was full of shit. So to actually have learned a little bit from that person, to have guys like Big Daddy T or Downtown Bobo Brown from the Superior Wrestling Alliance kind of go, we see a little bit of something in you. Come over here, and we want to, kind of help you out. Even the promoter back then, Buckshot Gravel. I'm not going to get into details, but stuff happened with him as well, and that's kind of how and why company had folded after some time. But I mean, I'm super thankful to those guys, especially those three names, for the training that they actually had given to me and got me to where I was in the business. Was I ever huge in the business? No, I wasn't. I will definitely attest to that. I wrestled in Northern Ontario, Canada, and I wrestled in Upper Michigan. And that was really the extent of my career, was just this one little centralized area. But yeah, I loved it. I loved it.
I was actually going to ask like who you thought was your most, or who's more influential in your, like, whether it's like from day one or just like, because you're just like me. Like I have my influences for the people who taught me. Then I have my influences, the people who helped me grow as a performer. And then I'll have my influences of the people I'm just very thankful for over time with the work I was able to get. Like, so I guess by that, like, who do you think would be your answers to like your influences in the sense of learning, growing, and working? Like who do you think is the most influential person from your
From each
time
one of those three like kind of categories, or
just in general? Like, because I know, like, for me, like, they're all different types of people, and
right?
It's just amazing. Like,
yeah, it's really hard to be able to pinpoint just one person because there were so many influential people throughout my short career that I had. And again, I go back to Big Daddy T, Tom. Like he was very influential. We developed a really good friendship. He lived in the United States, and I lived in Canada, and we would travel back and forth just to see each other and spend time together. Like we developed a friendship out of things, and it was just a nice opportunity to kind of sit down, shoot the shit, and talk the sport, as opposed to just being able to talk about things while at a show or something like that. And then little later on in the career, I mean, I'm influential for me were guys like Diego Da Vinci and Vinny Da Vinci, the Da Vinci brothers.
Da Vinci?
Yep. Yeah. I don't know. Have you worked with any of the Da Vincis with Canadian Wrestling's Elite?
No,
probably.
My history with the CWE isn't like that much. Like, it's when they usually come down. Like, I don't think I've ever worked with them in Winnipeg, where they're based out of. It's more when they, come out west. So like I've known Danny Duggan like my entire career. And I've wrestled him literally twice. Once was, I think, back in 2006, and then the last time was in 2020.
Okay.
So like we've known each other for long, but like it took us that long just to like really wrestle. So like you can really already kind of see like how much we both grew in 14 years from the last time we had worked. But it's just one of those, and then you're probably going to testify, but sometimes you have people that you just can never connect with. Like it's always like you just, anytime they have an opportunity and they ask you, you're not able to. The time you're able to, they're just not, there. So you're just always missing each other. It's not so much like, we're not connected in the sense of timing from, organizing a time to, do business. Yeah. But I mean, it's one of those relationships, like anytime I see him, we just, again, like pick up right back where we left. But, he's definitely one of those guys and one of those companies that I know, like between you and Joe, like that was kind of like our connecting almost in a way, because I know you guys do a lot of and have done a lot of stuff with them. Yeah, we just always miss each other, and a lot of times it's just it's not their fault, really. They're just the workhorse of a company that, it's just bad timing a lot of times. But no, I've never worked with any of the Da Vinci guys there that I know of.
Okay.
I also have a bad memory of my earlier days, in the sense of I'll remember like really important things, or I'll remember like good things, but like I don't remember everything. And that's not headshots or anything. It's just it took me a while to really kind of enjoy and be remembering. Like I'm sure, like in a way, like when you got to a point where you learned how to slow things down and just be in the moment, I was kind of that way with my career. It took me a while before I just was able to keep knowledge of everything around. So like now I have a better chance or a better remembrance of like every little thing that I do on show day now than I did 10, 15 years ago, just because I think I was just trying to, it's really like a match in a way. Like when you're younger, you're just trying to get through everything. Now you're kind of slowing it down and you're kind of enjoying every little thing about it. Like you're able to take more out of it. And that's how I was. I was just trying to get point to point back then. That it just,
it's not even necessarily you getting, trying to enjoy or get more out of it type of thing. Now it's just, for me, after so many years, you have a better understanding of the crowd and kind of how they want to see things. So you really learn how to feed off of them to be able to enjoy things and take things a little bit slower, because then you're going, okay, so the crowd's kind of sitting on their hands right now. Well, shit, I gotta pick things up a little bit. And then you kind of talk with your opponent and you work something out and get something good done in the ring that gives a nice pop. And then you're like, okay, awesome. Now we can slow things down a little bit again and play the crowd and see how they react and how they feel. And yeah, for me, that's more of what it was later in my career, was just, I need to listen to this crowd right now and kind of give them what because they're paying and I'm getting paid peanuts, but I'm getting paid because they paid to come and see somebody wrestle.
Yeah.
So I that was one of the big things for me in near the end, was I can't just go out there and continue to think that I'm doing this just for me, because, well, no, I'm not. I'm doing it for them.
Yeah, and like I've always had this analogy, like almost wrestling and like getting comfortable in a ring is the same to driving a car. In the sense of when you start driving, it is so scary in the sense of like, oh my God, you're understanding the responsibilities now. You're trying to process every little possible thing. And take into account, if you were to ever get in an accident when you're a newer driver, you have no idea how to handle that. You have no idea how things happened, things like that.
No.
When you start doing it more and you get that more familiarity with, being behind the wheel, and then if you were to get in an accident, you can figure it out more. You understand the little things that created the big deal, right?
Oh yeah.
And that's how I felt like with wrestling. Like at first you understand just, what you have to do, and it takes you time to learn not only why you're doing it, but also the variables that come along with it. And when you're understanding all those things, now you're able to put together the whole thing. But I thought really in wrestling too, like you're learning, just about, posting and just how to work with things, and like understanding that you actually have very important responsibilities inside a wrestling ring. It's not just what you see on TV. There's so much more that come with it. And that's really scary when you first kind of go in for your day one training. But then when you're a few years in, it's just become more instinctual, like, and things like that. So those are like your first things when you see somebody do something wrong, you're just boom, you're right there, right? Like you can pick it apart a lot easier. And that's kind of one of those things that, hey, Throwback, how are you doing? Wildcard, yeah, I know. And Throwback's definitely going for his Patriots, who are, playing Buffalo today. I no longer have a team in the playoffs because the Rams just can't seem to win when it matters. So I hope you guys get absolutely just smoked by the Cardinals, because I hate you, Rams. Team that actually decided to turn the on button to off when it came to salary cap. But yeah, who blows a 17-0 lead? Like, come on. Like, you suck. I hate you, LA. So anyway, I'm going for Cincinnati because I'm changing from the Who Dat to the Who Day.
I haven't even been able to follow any football at all, so I don't even know. Everybody has to choose a team.
Yeah,
that's how I was raised. Everybody, you just have to choose a team. So I chose the Ravens, and I'm like, okay, cool.
Did you quote the Ravens?
I figured, why not? Why not? I'll quote them. Nevermore. And so I was like, yeah, right. And then I really haven't followed very much this past season because I've been way too busy. I'm way too busy.
Well, your team also didn't make the playoffs, just like mine.
Okay.
So it is, yeah. But yeah, no, it's that's why I think too, like with us, like we're so protective of pro wrestling just because we understand those so much. And I like, do you think like there is that with like when you look at pro wrestling, do you look at it the same way now that you did before you started getting into wrestling, or no? And do you think that wrecks it for you, or do you think that makes it better?
For me, it made it so much better. 100%, because now I can sit there while watching a program and go, hey, I remember when I started having to learn that move, or I remember when I did that move. And it kind of, so I have had several concussions and several undiagnosed concussions as per my doctor. So going through the business and then now watching the business, I can kind of look at things and it clicks a memory and it goes, oh yeah, shit. I remember when that move happened with this person and this area, and it was for this company. And like, it kind of helps my memory out a little bit, which is good. But for me, it totally enhanced the product for me, because now I can look at it both ways. I can look at it as a fan, and I can look at it as a worker, and I can switch between them as well, right? Like I can go, hey, I'm just, a fan right now, and shit, as a fan, that was super freaking cool. But then I can go at the same token for the exact same thing that happened and go, but as a worker standpoint, it just, I don't know. That's the best way I can explain it.
Yeah, I know, like for me, like I like, because wrestling was always my comic books. I was never a big book person. To me, I always like seeing things over than reading them, because the way I always seemed to interpret things when I was younger never seemed to be what either it was or what I was supposed to see or read, I guess. So like I remember like just being in school and they're like, oh, read this book. Okay, what did you think of it? And then I had mine like, well, that's wrong. And I was like, so you're saying interpretation is incorrect? So I was like, yeah, okay. Like that really made me want to like
right.
And then like when I'm with wrestling, it kind of just, like your interpretation is always seemed to matter. And that's what I always loved. Plus it was like, okay, well, yeah, your superhero just does really cool things in a book. Mine's doing stuff live action. So like I know it, like I can see a guy who's a dead mortician and he's beating people up. So come at me, bro. But then now, like when I started like training, I think too, like, I don't know about you, but I now seem to study a lot more people, whether it's like the way they move, whether it's just, the nuances and stuff like that now. And I have definitely a lot more admiration and appreciation for what they do, because, you have relatability now on that end. But I always just think it can take away the innocence of why you like wrestling at times, but it makes you at least more appreciative because of your history of going through that, like similar things, and knowing that they're doing what you do, but they're also doing it at a level that you you're still very I don't want to say jealous. Sometimes
Oh yeah,
you're jealous, but it's something that it's just there's so much more respect because they're doing it at such a different level. It's like if you played hockey and you're just like, okay, never made it to the NHL, but then all of a sudden you see Connor McDavid and it's like, oh my God, like it's just like you're just more blown away and you're just more like, yeah, like I can do this pretty well, but holy cow, that guy does it at a completely different level. So and that's kind of the way when I watch guys, whether it's AEW, whether it's WWE and stuff like that. Like, and I think in wrestling, like you always have that internal competition of like whether or not you think you're better than what you see. Like I think it's just one of those things. But yeah, and and it's weird because I think that's taken a different way. Like whether or not you watch something and be like, no, I'm better than that guy. It's not because you think that guy sucks or anything like that. It's just like you have that much more validation in your ability now, and you're more confident now in what you're doing. So the next time, if you were going to do something, you're probably going to have a better match because you're putting that expectation and that pressure on yourself.
Right. You're learning so much more by watching and actually having a little bit more of an understanding of the business. So you're able to better learn from watching these other people, which, yeah, I mean, there are times, I mean, I don't wrestle anymore, but there are still times where I'm sitting there going, shit, if they would have done this, just tweaked it, it would have looked so much better. Right. Like, I mean, you just, yeah. So, I mean, that's a downfall, I guess, sometimes, is that I can really nitpick at things and go, why the fuck did they just do that? They shouldn't have done that. They should have maybe done this instead. They had 5 other things that they could have done besides this, which would have made it look so much better. And then, like, yeah, I find myself kind of nitpicking a little bit, but yeah. I think it's good though, because I mean it keeps my noggin that's been rumbled too many times still clicking.
It's almost like it's that perfect example of, you know, you're at a job and you're in a review or whatever, and they're asking you like what you don't like, and then you just say you don't like stuff, and that's it. Whereas if you're more experienced in the craft or at that part of the job, you're not only giving away your opinion of what you don't like, but then you're also adding ways that you can solve it and fix it. And I think that's the difference between a big difference, of people that are aware of the craft and people who aren't, is not like, and I think a lot of people who don't wrestle, they do have a lot of other reasons, but they're based on what they watch, not based on stuff that they know can work or not, because they've never had that ability to try it out or perform it themselves. So they don't know the first person viewpoint. But at the end of the day, it's like, I just find that that's something now, like I feel like I have more ability in answering that problem with a solution than if I was just watching something and I was like, I don't like that. Well, why?
I don't know. I just didn't like it.
So
yeah, no, you definitely do. When you have worked in the business for a while, you actually can kind of do stuff like that where you can go, shit, that didn't work out very well, but had they done this or this, it would have worked out so much better. So you're not just crapping all over something. You're going, I'm not a fan of this because of, and here's a situation how we can rectify this, right? Like, yeah.
But like, even with that, like, just by listening to me, it's always interesting because I remember like I did a NFL draft with JPJ before this football season, and we didn't really hit on the picks a lot, but we somehow were able to hit on the positional of the drafts pretty consistent. So it's like, oh, okay, cool. Like we can identify these things quite well. And so like it gave me a little bit more confidence as a fan of like things I knew, right? But when it came down to strategic stuff of, okay, we just think this is a better fit for their team and for the scheme or stuff like that, I'm totally out of my league on that. But when I now bring that into the wrestling, it's very interesting when I'm hearing about somebody else talking about a spot, whether it's like an interview, and I know I was like critical of like, oh, I just didn't like this. It's very interesting to know if you're on that same level of thinking with that performer at the time about what they're doing. Because I feel I'm a little bit more on that level of the thought, but the way they know how, and that's why I'm so jealous. Like, I think I'm more jealous of the knowledge and the way they're thinking of the performers that are in these, like the WWE, AEWs, like their explanations are just so much more enhanced. And that's where I want to get to. I want to have that internal knowledge to where I am, because if I can have the knowledge, then I'm sure I can, have better performances.
Yeah, definitely you can. And I mean, it's all, it takes time. It definitely takes time to be able to understand the knowledge behind things and to be able to have the situations. And especially if you're in a matchup and you go for a spot and it botches, to have that understanding and that knowledge, you can then be like, this doesn't matter because I've now got my knowledge of 4 other different things that we could do to be able to correct this and get back onto track again, right? So
Yeah.
that's a huge thing too, is the knowledge of, right? And I mean, not even just so much knowledge of history, but knowledge of performing as well.
When can you identify like a time in your career where you just like, in real time you had to make a change and it was like, yep, and I'm still going to stand by it, and it was one of those times I made a real-time decision and it was just fine. Like I know there's times in like careers where you're just that's not your first thing that you're thinking of. The situation's gone wrong, but you don't have an answer for it right away. Can you identify like the time in your career where you knew like, boom, that's when you're doing? Because I feel like for me, that was a time I had confidence, like true confidence. I was starting to really put the pieces together.
Definitely it is. And I mean, that comes to a situation where you're learning how to call, going breaking kayfabe a little bit, but terminology, you're calling the matchup at that point. And it's very interesting. And it's something that just kind of clicks. It isn't really something that you can learn per se. It just more kind of clicks with you, and then it's hard to even realize at times, because you just kind of, you're going through the matchup and you're just rolling with the punches, so to speak. But then something will come up. And I guess one time I was in a matchup, I was in a tag team matchup, and the guys that we were tagging against had to come at both of us and give us both a clothesline, me and my tag team partner. And it was very simple that needed to be done, where they had to come in and clothesline us. Instead, they came in, stood, and we were like halfway through the matchup at this point, and they came in and just stared us down, like came right up to our faces and just stared us down. And me, I look over at the other guy and we're just kind of like, yeah, what? So I kind of just I called it. I'm like, shove me. So the guy actually shoved me, and then I'm like, and I go back up into him, and I get up into his face, and I'm like, two more times. And he does it 2 more times, and I go back up to him, and I'm like, punch me in the face. And then, like, you kind of had to go with it. And then, after the punch in the face, I kind of came back again, and I said, shove me 1 more time and take a clothesline. So he shoves me 1 more time. I go back and I come back in and I just give him a clothesline. And that just kind of, right? So, I mean, the other guy, I was kind of letting him do his own thing with, I didn't care about what he was doing, because I was worried about myself and having to, and that was probably the first time that I really clicked with it, was I'm expecting to get clotheslined, and instead he just rushes and stands in my face. And so you really had to like think on the fly. So that's that's probably when it clicked for me is, hey, shit, I can actually call a match if I have to, right?
And what I think is very interesting is just the ability to come up with something that makes sense and recognized by a live crowd on the fly. That is why I know, like, I have so much respect for not only guys like Undertaker, Guerrero, but John Cena, I think, flies under the radar with how good he does that. When I say good, I think that guy is one of the best ever.
Yep. No, I agree. For in-ring work, 100%.
But just
100%.
the ability to call someone in real time, and it is something that the fans go crazy about. That's like, it is one thing when you have to call someone right in real time just to get through the situation. It's another thing when you're keeping everybody emotionally invested, which is the whole point of what we're doing.
Right.
But when you know you're doing something, and it could just be like whatever the situation is, but it's just a matter of what you're thinking right on the fly. That's absolutely making things better. Like, that to me is like amazing. And I remember being in a match where we had one of our guys, he completely tore like his knee completely out. And it was an elimination match. And he was supposed to go on, right? Like, it was one of those things where he was the only quote unquote good guy.
Okay.
And now he's hurt. And now he's hurt to the point where he can't even stand up. And you're like, shit, what do we do? And at that point, you just take away you just make sure that he's safe. So we eliminated him. And then I kind of had to work as a good guy, which is hilarious because we were not good. My character was not a nice person. Like, we were kind of jackasses and a-holes said that the finest, but it's one of those things where now we actually have to redirect this whole match and now have to kind of go on to a whole different like direction now. And it's just, now we have to keep the people invested. And what was really interesting was now, like, it's very easy for a live audience just to walk out if they don't like something.
Oh yeah. Very easy for them too.
How often have you seen people walk out because there's just like, no?
Many times.
Yeah. So the ability, like the fact that I thought like I was able to convey, and like I was in the ring with a guy who has spent 30 years plus in this business now, Steve Rivers. Okay. And it was one of those things where he's like, all right, well, we'll just do this. And then we'll go home and we'll go to the fit. And I'm just like, yeah, no, I'm like, these people, like, we can't give them a 6-minute main event. We can't rush it. I'm like, let's give these people some. Let's actually give them a match. And so we extended the match like 7-8 minutes and just actually gave them something. And at that point, at the end, a lot of those fans were actually hoping I won. And it was just absolutely fun. Now, it was more of like I was the lesser of two evils, which is like, in a way, kind of like, oh, I wanted to be the greater evil. Because that was But with that being said, I think familiarity came in and I was more local. So because of that, I just knew the people more from that. But I just thought it was really cool that we were able to not only extend, but we were also able to keep people emotionally invested. And that was probably the time where I'm just like, okay, boom. When it came down to my instincts, now I'm completely confident in that. And I still to this day think I have really good instincts.
Right. Yeah. And you have to. And I mean, that's something it definitely is something that you learn over time. 100% it is. You really have to learn that and have a knowledge of that. But, yeah, like it happens. It happens. You have to be able to work on the fly. You have to.
That's a very interesting question. Has that ever happened to you?
So Ecto Guy 87 is asking, you guys ever have a run-in without your knowledge or consent? Yes. Yes. It did not end well. And it was not a fan either. It was a worker.
Have you ever had a fan interaction like that?
Never one run into the ring. I've had interactions with fans when I was working in the United States. As you saw earlier, my gear, it was all Canadian. There was, you know, my trunks had a maple leaf on it, everything. I had kids and people that would yell, kick him in the maple leaf. Like they would come like as close to the ring as they could get and just yell to my opponent to kick me in the maple leaf. And so, I mean, that was, that was good. I'm like, perfect, good. That means that I'm getting over with this crowd, even if it's as a heel. I don't care because there's interaction. They're making things fun right now. But yeah, no, I had a worker run out during a matchup, and it wasn't even on me that the worker was pissed off with. The worker was pissed off with my opponent at the time, ran in, and my opponent and I just kind of stopped and looked at each other and decided to give this guy a really nice receipt, and he had to leave the building after more wrestlers came out, took this guy out, and brought him to the back. And by the time we finished our matchup and got to the back, that person was already gone. So I don't know if we beat the crap out of him enough that he had to leave, or if maybe there was a fear and he just left. Or maybe the promoter was like, just get the hell out of here right now, and we'll deal with this later. I don't even know, because again, it wasn't anything towards me. I was just like, how dare you come into my matchup unplanned with, because we always made sure that if there was going to be a run-in or any type of spot, that it was known about beforehand. 100%. That was because if not, situations like this happen where somebody runs out and then you're like, the hell is this guy doing right now? This is my time, my spotlight, and you're taking that away from me and my opponent right now? Screw you. I don't care who you are. You could be the owner of the company coming out here. I'm beating your ass down because this is my time.
And I think that's kind of like, too, like I've never had a run-in from another worker unannounced. I've had fans try to get involved. And I think it's very important to tell people that if you're there as a fan, you're there to enjoy watching the show, please do that. Please be loud. Please be supportive. Please watch it. Have a good time. But understand that you're not a part of the actual performances. You're there to add to the atmosphere. Right. Because it's definitely a thing that you do not want to mess with that. Try going to a play and getting involved into the performance of there and seeing what they would do, because it's one of those things where they don't know the intentions of the fans. Therefore, it's almost a direct form of, I'm on defense mode.
Exactly.
Because you have no idea. It's just like any other circumstance of, when you're not aware of what the intention is, you have to plan for your safety first, the safety around everyone else. And that's just a weird position to be in. It's not fun.
Just like if you were to go to a concert, whether it's a music concert, and you try getting up on stage, not going to happen. Or like you said, you go to a play. Let's go see the Pirates of Penzance and try to get up on stage with a sword. Like, because you want to be part of the action. What?
If you want to do that, take the proper precaution, go to whatever training school that comes with to getting there, and then try to get that part, and then try to be in it. Be respectful. Don't try to overtake a performance. It'd be so much more like you're bringing your hockey gear to an NHL game, and because you don't like watching the player, you're like, I'm just going to go up on the ice and start playing the game. And it's like, 1, no, 2, hilarious, 3,
Right.
guys are going to rip your head off.
Well, did you ever have a situation like that at all, where like not necessarily the guy ran in, but maybe like a worker from, you know, down the line or whatever comes to this show, and as a worker, I always had my gear. No matter where I went, it was in the trunk of my vehicle. I always had my gear. Did you ever have a situation where like this guy kind of interjected himself into a show because he's like, oh, well, I'm a worker, I got my gear, let's just roll with things?
Never worker. Like I've seen people like, oh, they go to a show, they weren't, you know, quote unquote booked on the show on the card, and they get booked because they have their gear like that. That's a completely different story. But I've never had one just like, I have my gear and then I'm just going to decide I'm part of it. In the form of that question, like, no, I've had fans try to get handsy while I'm performing. And that's something that, again, like I remember I was wrestling Short Sleeve Samson. And where we were at kind of an expo. It was, you know, days, Klondike days. It's a big thing. We were in pretty much the area right by Rexall, Skyreach, the old venue for the Edmonton Oilers.
Okay.
And then right beside it, like our fans were pretty much like a good part of where the fans are what they called the beer gardens at the time. So yeah, you know they're gonna be rowdy, you know they're gonna.
Oh yeah.
So like I'm on the outside, Short Sleeve is in the ring. He does like a rap kind of intro, right?
Okay.
To get the people going. So he's doing that. I'm on the outside. I feel like I'm just in this like, I don't know. I just feel something hitting me. I just kind of leave it be. Not a big deal. Right. I didn't know if maybe I bumped into something or whatever. So anyway, comes back again. And then all of a sudden I feel something actually tug me. And there's this person who decided that they didn't like me, going to hit me, and then grab a handful of my gear. And just without hesitation, I just turned around and I just shoved this person.
Right.
I go back and look, and it was a drunk female. So I felt terrible about that. However, so like the guy who was my manager at the time, I'm happier it was me doing it and not him, because he has a lot less of a tolerance for stuff. Plus a shove and a shot are completely different. I did not strike this person. I created separation.
True.
And that's all I wanted to do, because I needed to get away from that. And as soon as I did that, I went into the ring and just went to the opposing side. This was my issue that I made a mistake on. The first time we did anything in the match, I went back to that side.
Oh, no.
Because I'm like, like, now I did it for the intention of like, well, they're going to be the hottest side of the show. Definitely my plan. No. But yeah, so I know I was grilled in the back about I shouldn't have gone back to that side because I don't know what's going to happen. However, here's the nice thing. Because I went back to that side, I was put in a position, if like, so short sleeve is what they call a little person. In pro wrestling, we do say the word midget. It is something that's just there.
Yep.
So I was supposed to be the kicker in a comedy match. We now turn that match into a situation where everyone wanted to see a little person beat the crap out of me. And that's exactly what we gave them, because last thing I wanted to do was not be a part. Like, I didn't want to be in a comedy match. Like, for one, I'm not a big fan of being in comedy matches.
Right.
I love pro wrestling and the tradition that comes with it. That's what I wanted. But then when we were able to turn that story and give the people what they wanted, I became more of a villain. Therefore, I became more of a standout of the show. Luckily, everything happened. This person was, I guess, the one that I shoved was on their last legs because they have been very problematic throughout the day, did not hold their alcohol very well.
Okay.
So I was actually the reason of why this person ended up being kicked out and not.
So was this
like in
last
trouble.
legs? Was this last legs like multiple times over multiple shows, or just that one night?
That one night, because it's like a day, like this event
Oh.
we had, it was like, it's basically like a carnival type thing. We just happened to also be part of it.
Okay.
So this person, I guess, was very violent around the staff at carnival games and stuff like that.
Okay.
Really towing the line. That was the one time they crossed it. When I got to the back, I remember I got mad at the security that was sitting and not out there.
Right.
Because I lit into it. I'm like, you guys just know that there was a human being out there that got shoved, and the only reason they got shoved because you guys decided we were going to eat a sandwich instead of working. I mean, do you know the laziness that came with it, and it almost hurt someone? I got so mad at them, and my promoter got so happy I did that because it took the heat off them.
Right.
But like right away, I felt very bad about what I did because that's never what we want to do. But at the same time, it's just that's going to be the level of physicality that comes with an action of when you're trying to cross a line at a wrestling show or even in any performance arts of that matter.
Right. Yeah.
So that was a fun time for me.
Yeah, and no matter what, I mean, even we know that even today that stuff still happens where fans interject themselves into storyline.
It happened just like a few months back with a fan attacking Seth Rollins on Monday Night Raw.
Yeah. So yeah, like that's
just
what
like,
I mean. Like it still happens to this day. Like even on the major companies that have security all over the place. Like it was yeah.
It's just, to me, it like a streaker at an event is always funny and entertaining to watch. When somebody runs on the field during a timeout at a football game or whatever,
right?
It's always funny for everyone else. But also take into account how much that person is going to find. Take into account with how much that person's now going to probably get charged.
Right.
And if by chance, I'd rather be tackled by a security guard than tackled by one of the players.
True.
Because also take into account, the security people will always have your best interest at heart. The players will not.
No, they will not at all.
So like it's just one of those things where you got to be careful.
It definitely is. Oh God.
Yeah. But with that, it's never nobody wants to ever hurt anyone like on that end too. Like it's just one of those things where again, like now it's really that defense mechanism.
Yeah, that's exactly it. You're put into a situation where it's hard because you're trying to save face. You're trying to keep kayfabe, right? You're trying to ensure that everyone is safe and having a good show, fans included in that. And then when a fan starts to kind of poke and prod and physically interjects themselves into what's happening, yeah, that's hard because you have to react somehow, right? And it's hard trying to keep those emotions in check but then being firm with things and going, you can't be doing this shit. Like, stop. And it's a fine line. And sometimes that line is broken, unfortunately. And thankfully, in your situation, that line was definitely broken. 100% it was. But situations leading up to it all were absolutely fantastic. And, fantastically in a way that the heat wasn't on you, wasn't on the promoter, wasn't on the promotion, wasn't on anything like that. The heat definitely was on that fan and that person for doing what they did. So,
yeah. And speaking of protection, if you want to protect your genitals, make sure you go to manscaped.com. Use the promo code Love Wrestling and receive 20% off your order and get free shipping. And let me tell you, if you want some nice swag, because I think that's one of the things I was saying more of is the swag. They got some nice swag. You can get the Lawnmower 4.0. You can get this nice, beautiful, comfortable shirt. You can get some nice boxers. And then on top of that, you can get a nice little pack to carry all your stuff around. You can get some anti-shaving cream, some ball deodorant. Guys, listen, your genitals do not smell nice. Have you ever taken a whiff of your pee-pee and its friends? It is not great. So make sure you go to Manscaped and get some deodorant, because you got to get those boys smelling good. Because if there's one thing you want to do, you want to impress that person who's going to be taking their sweet time to give that genitals some attention. So help us, help you, help them. Go to manscaped.com now and get 20% off your order and free shipping when you use the promo code Love Wrestling. There's so many good ways of just like going into that I have a lot of fun with.
That's fantastic, because I nearly spit my coffee out when you transitioned into that.
It is so much fun to say the word genitals, by the way, and not get in trouble.
Right? Right? Things like that are such a cock and ball type of situation that it's hard sometimes, right? So
So we've been going for just under an hour and a half now. I want to kind of talk about a few positive things that we got out of pro wrestling. It's not so much like, we could talk about the people we met and things like that too. But over your time and your career, what are some things that stood out for you, whether it's accomplishments, whether it's people you've met, whether it's just situational things that are really cool that you're just like, man, that happened to me and nobody can take that away. What would you say would be your top 3 moments of your wrestling career and what you got out of it?
So top 3, probably the first will always be the first, is going to be when I was able to be inside of the ring with the Patriot. The Patriot was at a show in Michigan. I was at that show. And of course, the Patriot is all American, all the time, all everything. I was the Extreme Canadian. We were in a battle royal that was happening. And he sees me in gear in the back, and he kind of comes over, and we were talking for a few minutes, and he goes, "So what are you doing tonight?" And I told him in the battle royal, and he asked, and I showed him the board, and I'm like, "Here's what the promoter has for us and whatever." And he goes, "This isn't working out." I'm cutting this story really short because, but he's like, "No, there's, no, this isn't happening." And then he goes, gets the promoter comes over, and he changes the entire thing. And goes, "No, Karl and I are finishing this matchup. Like, do you not see what's going on here? You've got the US, you've got Canada. Like, come on now." So the promoter's like, "Okay, yeah. So that was probably number 1, is definitely being able to be in the ring and have that type of a situation with the Patriots. Winning my first Canadian championship, that was by far amazing. It was nice because the company trusted me enough to be able to represent their company, their promotion as a champion. That's always going to be amazing that they trusted me to be able to do that for their company. And then I think just because of being in the world of professional wrestling and inside the business, being able to have Canadian Wrestling's elites come through the area and building up a relationship with Danny enough that I've been able to work, quote unquote, for Danny without getting paid. I just volunteered my services. I'd help him set up. I'd do chairs. I would do ring. I would do merch for him, different things like that. And I would do so much that he would then, be like, hey, so now like, come here, like, I'm going to introduce you to the people and to the big stars that come, and your family, like, pulled me in. Like, it was just, no, you're part of this now. Like, you've been here, you've helped out, you're part of this. So now it doesn't matter. And, kind of being able to have the availability to just kind of be like, hey, I kind of got a little bit of control over all of this. So I have to go into the back now, or I have to do this, I have to do that. And then meeting Jake the Snake Roberts from that is probably a huge highlight for me, and the friendship that I've developed with Jake the Snake Roberts from that, where he's actually remembered who I am, seeing me years later, is absolutely fantastic. That for me is a highlight. For me, that's like, okay, I not necessarily in my wrestling career, but outside of, still in the world of professional wrestling, I made it. Mm-hmm. And that's, and I guess I'll throw one last one out there is seeing people out in public and them recognizing who I am as a professional wrestler. I had a situation where I look totally different. I've got a beard now, as opposed to being clean shaven back when I was wrestling. I walked into a dollar store, and the cashier behind the counter, as I'm leaving, as I'm checking out, goes, "Hey, come here. You're Karl Karufel, aren't you?" And I'm like, yeah. He's like, dude, I watched you wrestle. I watched you wrestle for this company. I watched you wrestle here. He's like, it's so awesome. And I was like, holy shit, this is fantastic. So even just those little interactions as well have just left such a lasting mark on me that I love it. I love it. Yes. I love wrestling.
It's so cool, like with the fame that, like, I don't think, I mean, like, there's maybe a little bit in you that, like, get into wrestling, be like, I just want to get famous. I want to become like the star, right? Like, we always have that aspiration, but we never in our real minds do we ever think, like, we're going to get stopped on the side of the street. We're not going to, like, we're going to be, like, little things like that come with it. If you're fortunate enough to be in a position like that, it's just really cool. One of my biggest takeaways, and I think too, like, it's one of the things I just think I enjoy so much is just the impact that you can have on someone else. So speaking of which, hello, Joe.
My brother.
But, like, I remember being champion for a company, and I was a good guy, which was fun. But when I won the title, I remember our promoters, like, I didn't get a lot of snaps of the crowd for the social media. And I was like, okay. So when I won, and I have the great decision of using Metallica's For Whom the Bell Tolls as an entrance song at the time. Yeah.
Like 16-minute intro.
Oh, my God. Huge. But I win the title, and I go out, and I just interact with people, and all of a sudden, the 200-300 people that were at the show are just filling it, and we're taking this, like, just huge photo, like, group shot, and you don't even see me. You just see the title, like, up above here. But it was just one of those moments that like I never felt I was in a position like I could ever like have people come together in like a positive way like that, which I thought was really cool and have that impact. And there was a time later, as like in that reign, where one of the fans, it was a little girl, she went through a battle of like cancer at a very young age, beat it, came to a show, and she had a sign that says, "You're my favorite wrestler." And like I was coming back from my like match, like just back to the curtain when this was happening. And I was like, well, you know what? You're my favorite wrestler. And I just put the title on her and I held her up, and I saw her dad come in and take a photo and just is bawling because of stuff like that. And it was just things like that too. Like, I always, when anybody would ask, hey, can I have a photo? And you're just, okay, but, can you do something for me? And they're like, yeah, what? I'm like, well, I want to do my super cool pose for you, but I can't do that. So can you hold this? I don't hand them the championship.
Really?
And it was just like, they're taking the photo with it. And then just like the amount of like, just the thrill and like the eyes like widening out. And it's like, you get more of an appreciation of what comes with it. And it's just really cool. And that's what I love about it now. But really, I always like just the people you meet and the relationships are always so cool. It's like two of my best friends in wrestling were in my wedding party. So that was really cool. So like, there's just lasting friendships and relationships out of that. But I think too, like just the sole point of you living out a dream, whether or not you became, you know, the main event at WrestleMania or whatever, like, and you still have an appreciation. I mean, the fact that I'm going on now 18 years of pro wrestling, it's pretty mind-blowing. And I still haven't really done anything too damaging to my body till it's affected my day-to-day life. Pretty fortunate about that and pretty humbled just all that. So, but personal achievements, like, oh my God, like also, man, I got to bowl with Billy Corgan once through wrestling.
Oh, really?
I did shots with Mean Gene Okerlund. Yeah, and like I've been in the ring with like Gangrel, Johnny Devine, and those guys are just fantastic in so many ways. Last week met Fandango, like man, like just what comes with it and just the mark out moments, I think those are always going to be cool, and you can never really take that. The fact that it still makes me feel like a kid still is pretty cool.
Definitely. No, 100%. I mean, that's the biggest thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Biggest thing.
And getting the nice swag that comes with the things. Yeah. God.
Right?
It's funny now, like I'm in my mid-30s and the majority of my shirts I wear are just like wrestling shirts still. Like it is so funny. Like I remember
mine too.
Like I remember like going to school, like when we were doing like Halloween or whatever, like dress as your favorite or whatever, right? I'd go and I was Shawn Michaels when I was 12. And then I was Chris Jericho when I was 15. So yeah, kind of show you like who two favorites were back in the day. But no, and like it's like my mom made like that zebra print. So when you had that black and white zebra outfit, all the mirrors on, like that was cool to me. And I don't know why, but like I remember back then that was before like Steve Austin became like huge. So like wrestling wasn't popular. So it was funny. Like when I was in elementary school, I was the kid that liked wrestling. So I was kind of a geek. So I got made fun of. But then Steve Austin flipped his Boss LeBurr drink job. And then all of a sudden I was like the cool kid that liked wrestling.
Right.
So like
Attitude Era hit and everyone now. Yep. Oh yeah.
So I mean, like I know it's stuff like that. So I think I don't know. I mean, this was fun. Definitely fun. Just to kind of like shoot the shit a little bit. So again, thank you so much for coming on. I mean, it'll be nice, like when this pandemic is over and we have an opportunity to like do like that round table. Like I just always think like this stuff is so much fun. I think that's why like I love watching those table for threes or just like you know the stuff like that on the network. it's just fun to share stories, and we didn't even touch on everything. So
Oh no,
we can even go on this fever further, like if we want to. So, but yeah, for the time, I just want to say thanks for coming on and like doing this, because this was definitely something that I enjoyed.
me too. Anytime that I can get onto a program and just shoot the shit about past experiences and working and road stories, like just talking road stories, like that's always fun.
All right, so if anybody is staying with us on Twitch, as you saw in there, we'll be rating Fightful Gaming. So please show them some love like you've shown us some love. And also make sure if you want to show some love in the sense of swag, make sure you go to our store at whatamaneuver.net and go get some swag of your own there. And I know, like, I was, again, like with Spencer yesterday, and we're just looking over some things. Man, you can get some really cool designs on there. I know Between Two Beers has just brought out some of their stuff. Really cool. They're one of our top shows as well. So like, and I think like we're gonna have some Turnbuckle Talk stuff eventually on there.
I hope so.
I know the Live Laugh Love shirts just released, so make sure you pick one of those bad boys up.
Josh Robinson as well.
Yeah, man, like make sure you're supporting him. That guy just is an absolute gem. Like one of our, I mean, talk about a home run edition. Josh Robinson is definitely one of those for Love Wrestling.
Oh, yes.
That guy puts out a lot of stuff, and make sure you follow his stuff. But I mean, tomorrow's when we'll get into the week of wrestling and what's coming up. So we get to be lazy on Saturday. It's fun.
Oh, yeah. I love it. I love it.
All right, everyone. Just want to say thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time. But before that, Karl, where can people find you next?
You can find me, for everything Turnbuckle Talk, it's at TB Talk Pod on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Darnell, I like this very much too. Thank you. Thank you for coming in. It is absolutely fantastic for you to come in here. Spencer, saw the boss as well, you know, kind of in there as well with some comments. Thank you so much. Yeah, so you can find me at TB Talk Pod on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. I have my own personal Twitter at Karufel, and then TB Rewind as well. You can search out, or even if you just go to the Googles and you type in Turnbuckle Rewind, you will find those socials as well. Yeah, that's about it. I got Turnbuckle Talk coming up this Tuesday. I am off, so it will be a 6:05 p.m. Eastern Standard Time show, and yeah, I got some interesting topics to pull out this week, so you're definitely going to want to check that out.
That is really cool. I can't wait to check that out, and for sure. And you can always follow me at Chris Parrish on the Twitter, Chris.Parrish on the Instagram. And if you're local and you're like, hey, when are you wrestling next? Tonight I am. Real Championship Wrestling, Norwood Legion. Come check it out. Tickets at eventbrite.ca, I believe. Come watch myself and my partner, Son of Irish, try to become the next Real Canadian Wrestling Tag Team Champions. Man, it is weird to say this, but in 2 months, my tag partner is going to be half my age.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. You know I'm old when I'm finally finding a kid to bump for me.
Hallelujah.
That being said, I know I said it right, man, I love bumping, but what I like more is streaming. Thank you, Karl, for being a part of this. I love professional wrestling. I love wrestling, and I hope you guys love wrestling as well. Thank you so much. Take care. Go kill it at Fightful Gaming. Tell them we say hi and all that good stuff. Oh, yeah. Bye, guys.
Yo! We're the Boros Twins.
I'm the world's sweetest man, Gentleman Jervis.
This is God's gift to wrestling, Michael Richard Blaze.
This is Chelsea Green.
And we love wrestling.
And I love